Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to address some of the frequently asked questions I get in the comments. I'll be going over the lights that I use for the fish room, the filtration I use for the fish room, and I'm also going to show you guys how I make the tops for these, most of the aquariums that I have. So let's get started. All the 10 gallons in the fish room and a few of the 20s run on these Matten filters. I got these at flipaquatics.com. These are pretty much like a big sponge filter in a way, that they just sit on the back of the tank here. And the way they work is they're air operated. So this is just one here put on the side. You put the airline tubing through the little hole, and I just have the air stone sticking out so we could see it, but normally it would be in the pipe there, and it pushes the air out, and this whole space becomes the filter. It's a large surface area. You can see it being used here in this tank. I have the air low on purpose, but you could put it to any pressure you want. It's got a nice directional flow to it. And if they're not the Matten filters, they are the Hydro 4 sponge filters. I got these at Gemco, and they're just the standard sponge filters that, you know, I put the airline in and an air stone in that as well. This is the air pump that pumps the entire fish room. I forget which model it is, so there's the model number. I also got this at Gemco. It's a great one-stop shop if you're looking to build a fish room. The lights I use, I got on eBay. I'll link them in the description below. But they're a really good light for the price that they're at compared to some other LEDs like a Stingray or a Fluval 3.0. These are only a 0.5 watt LEDs, so they're really good for a fish room if you're running multiple of these. I'm using two 36-inch lights for each row here. And in the new rack, we're going to do two 24-inch lights on each row. And they're a really good light. They grow plants really well. You can see I have them sitting on the top here, and on the rows that aren't on the top, they're hung up a little bit higher. So with lighting, the further you go down, the more distance between the light and the plants, the less light there is. So for a 10 gallon, I think it's a little bit too much light. A lot of people ask me if they're good for their aquarium. I don't know if I would use this if I had one or two aquariums. I'd much rather have a Stingray or a Fluval 3.0 or something like that that you could play with. I think for the 10 gallon it's too much light. You can see we have some string algae here, this mermaid weed. But it grows really well for the 20s and 40s because they're a little bit deeper compared to the 10s. And also that these are, you know, hung up. But it grows plants really well, and it doesn't cost as much in electricity, which is really good for the fish room. The tops that I made are good if you have tanks facing sideways. These are overdue for a cleaning, but it's nice and easy to feed multiple tanks this way. And there's no real lids that are made for a 10 gallon or even a 20 gallon when they're on their side. And this is really easy, just slide back and forth. I'll show you how I make these, and I'll show you where I got these tops here. I just got them on eBay. But this works for a 10 gallon. I also use them for the 20s. Same exact thing, just a little bigger. So let's get started on making those. All right, so the materials that you need for this glass lid is some outside corner molding that I got at Home Depot. I'll link the exact one I use. Glass cutters, and you need the glass, obviously. You can get different sizes at Home Depot. I find that the bigger you go, the easier it is to cut. You'll get a cleaner cut. Both of these sizes work for a 10 gallon. I've used the 10 by 12 size as well, but I find that you have to cut it so close that you don't get a clean cut half the time. So I actually have an 11 by 14 piece here. And what's annoying about these guys is that they always have the sticky part. You'll have to use some Goo Gone or something there to get rid of that. And I just use a piece that I have already cut, that I know the size is good. And I want to cut where I'm getting the most space between the pieces. So I just mark the spots there, and I'll tell you the measurements once I measure it out here, the exact size you want to cut. Let's see, we're looking for a little over 10 inches by pretty much a little less than 10 inches. So that's the size that works for me best. So we just take this piece here. What I like to do is use a long ruler, and I want to line it up nice and straight. And I just take our glass cutters, and I'm applying a lot of pressure on the ruler here so it doesn't move. You want to take the roller part right on the glass, and you want to apply pressure, and you want to do one quick right across. Now that we have that cut, I'm just going to take the piece here, and I'm going to line where the cut is right up against the edge here. And I don't know where my work gloves are, so I have these gloves for right now, and I also have safety goggles on. And you just apply pressure on the one side, and just a little pressure, and it cleanly snaps off there. And that's what we're looking for. And just to show you the finished product here, you just take the glass that you cut and just slip it right in to that molding. And these are just cut, you just hold it up against a 10-gallon and make sure it's the right length front to back. And then the top just slides right on there. And then you have a nice little sliding top. I figured I'd show the 10 by 12 piece. You can definitely use this, I just prefer not to. We got our correct size piece here, and I use it as a guide. So we already have 10 inches this way. This is roughly, it's just shy of the 10 inches. And we're going to do the same thing. Just cutting the glass there with the glass cutter. Right up to the edge and a little pressure. And we got a nice clean cut that time. Sometimes I don't get a perfect cut. Sometimes you get points sticking out and that kind of ruins it. But the reason I don't like using the 10 by 12 sometimes is because this piece is going to be a little snugger than I want it to be on the lid. When you have a bigger piece, you have more wiggle room to play with. But this works just fine. It's just a little tighter than I like. I hope that video was helpful. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.